Sobriety Essays number 49, God's Path. The path can be a trail, a walkway, or a way a person lives. It can be a history of where one has come from and where he is today. I have heard that the longer I stay sober, the narrower the path. If the path has grown narrower, the horizon has become much wider. I want to share a story about God's path and as it applied to my life and in my occupation. How all things were laid out in front of me and all I had to do was follow the path. After 6 months of sobriety behind me and still employed, it was a 23-mile drive to work and 23 miles home. I had recently lost my carpool partner and was looking for a replacement. It saves money to carpool and it makes the trip faster to have somebody to talk to. I find that talking to me can be some of the most worthless conversations. So I had placed a notice on the company bulletin board looking for someone to carpool with. A man who lived a mile away called me and told me that he had just moved in and that the company had bought him and his family all the way from Israel and he would like to carpool. So we did. We drove up and down the freeway, our little 23-mile trip to work and 23-mile home in the evening. As we did this, we got to know each other. I shared with him that I was a recovering alcoholic, and I found out that what he was doing for the company. He was a master programmer. Now, I knew absolutely nothing about programming. I knew how to turn a computer on, how to find information that was required to do my job, but really nothing about programming. Off this story for a moment, and yet related to the story, I have a little prayer that I developed for me in early sobriety. I say each morning when I wake up, and it is a request to my God. God, please grant me the willingness to do whatever it is I'm supposed to do today. Amen. A very short, very simple prayer. I do not tell God what I think I should be doing today, and I don't tell God what I think He should be doing today. I'm looking for the willingness to get up and do whatever I'm supposed to do. I believe that whatever I'm supposed to do will always be put directly in front of me. So I am saying this prayer each morning, and one day on the way to work, I told my carpool partner, I would really like to learn to do what it is you do. So he told me to come down to his office twice a week on my lunch hour and he would teach me to be a programmer. We did this for a couple of years. For some reason, I had a talent for programming that I never knew I had. It was like working a giant jigsaw puzzle. I learned to tell the computer what I wanted it to do. In this way, I do have a compulsive personality, and my wife will not allow me to have a jigsaw puzzle in the house. With my attitude, at 3 in the morning, I would still be saying just one more piece before I go to bed. Notice the attitude? It's like saying one more drink and I'll go home. Also, during the first 2 years of sobriety, I had a little attitude change towards my job. It was a God thing, and it changed my way of thinking. One day, I just quit working for the company that was paying me. They never knew that I had quit working for them, and they continued to pay me. I had decided I would sit down at my desk and do the job that was put directly in front of me, and the only one I was going to try and please was me. I was not going to try and please the boss. I quit trying to climb the corporate ladder. The thing I was doing was to do my job to please me. For some unknown reason, I lost all fear of bosses, and I really began to like my job. Like I say, it was an attitude change. At 4 years of sobriety, I was elevated to the second highest level of programmer they had in the company. After the promotion, I read the educational requirements that I had been promoted to. There were words in there I couldn't pronounce or understand. There were educational requirements that I came absolutely nowhere near. But God in His infinite wisdom had beaten the company at its own requirements. There was a statement in the job requirements right after the educational stuff, and that was, or 4 years of experience. That qualification I met. I became a full-time programmer. It was like getting paid to have fun. Just one big jigsaw puzzle after the other. I was on that computer for hours at a time, and remember, I have a compulsive personality. Well, God took care of that too. If left to my own devices, I think I would be going to work early and staying late, which might have affected my family life. Remember, I carpool, which means that I had to leave work at a set hour and return home at a set hour. And yet, when I was at work, I was the only guy I knew who got paid to have fun. At Christmas time, 1989, and 5 years of sobriety behind me, one day I got a call from the division manager, the secretary, to report to his office. Remember, I had lost all total fear of bosses. I just figured he had some job for me to do. So I showed up in his office at the appointed time, pencil and paper in hand. He hands me a very nice bonus check and informs me that I had been selected as one of the top 9 employees out of 16,000 employees for the year 1989. Now that seemed unreal to me. I walked out of that man's office almost in tears. He had absolutely no idea he was dealing with a drunk, dealing with a recovering alcoholic. He had no idea where I came from or what I had gone through. All he knew and all he really cared about was that he had a reliable employee who was doing a very good job. My, how far God has brought me from a park bench with a gun in my pocket to be an honored employee. The adventure continued. The company had a telephone company run a private telephone line into my house and told me to stay home whenever I felt I could be more productive at home. I had the insight to believe that out of sight, out of mind, so I worked out of the house on Fridays. I still carpooled to work with the same man that taught me to be a programmer 9 years earlier. He then moved to another plant, and I worked for the same company doing the same job until I retired in December of 1997 with 13 years of sobriety. It was interesting to me with an attitude that all I was going to do was the job that was placed directly in front of me, and the only person I was going to try and please was me. I watched that company go from 16,000 employees down to 2,400 employees. That's a lot of layoffs. I was still one of the 2,400. I was eligible to retire at age 59, but I remembered I was still the only guy that got to pay to have fun. I ended up working for a year beyond my retirement date. I was looking for some sign from my higher power as when I was supposed to retire. Well, he did. My company was bought out by another company which was going to relocate. I also found out that by retiring on December 1st, I would get the cost of living increase on January 1st. So I was out the door. Now I had some fear about retirement. I was leaving a job that I dearly loved, and I suspected I felt like I got a lot of my identity from that job. I was very surprised that I never missed it. I walked out the door and into retirement and never looked back. As I have written this, I am a couple months short of my 20th AA birthday. In all those years, I have only once put 12 days between meetings. On that occasion, I felt restless, irritable, and discontent, so I never did it again. I am a strong believer in going to meetings and participating in my own sobriety. In the beginning, I had no idea how far-reaching the program of Alcoholics Anonymous really is. It has touched every area of my life.